Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are starting Unit 10 today. So our first topic is called plot ordered pairs. Our goal today is really confusing. It says, today I will identify parts of a coordinate plane and plot or identify an ordered pair. So pretty much just to understand our goal, we have a lot of vocabulary. Now, because it's the first lesson in the unit, the vocabulary is very extensive, but we'll be practicing this vocabulary all unit long. Okay, so our first word is coordinate plane. What is a coordinate plane? Okay, so a coordinate plane is an area defined by a vertical. Now, if you remember, vertical means this direction, up, down. So it's defined by a vertical Y and a horizontal X. Okay. After we look at this vocabulary, you're also going to see how in the notes section, you'll see a visual and we'll put it all into the visual. Okay, our next word is quadrant. So if we think of the word quadrant, we see quad. Okay. This coordinate plane is broken up into 4 parts. Now in 5th grade though, we're only going to be working with 1 part, which means we're only going to work with 1 of the quadrants. When you get to 6th grade next year, then you're going to work with the entire coordinate plane. Okay, our next word is a point. A point is an exact location on a plane. Okay, our next word says axes. Okay, it's a pair of perpendicular. Now, if we remember, perpendicular meant 2 lines that cross, creating 90-degree angles. So perpendicular means this, that when they intersect or cross, they create 90-degree angles. Okay. So it's a pair of perpendicular lines. Now because it's lines, it's plural. So the singular form of axes is axis. But axes is when you're talking about the 2 lines, you use the word axes. And then when you're talking about 1, you just say axis. Okay, so what are these 2 lines? Well, one of the lines is called the x-axis. The x-axis, and that is the horizontal number line. So horizontal is this direction. Okay, our other line is our y-axis. So our y-axis is the vertical line, the vertical number line. So it's this one, the one going up and down. Okay, our next word is origin. Now the word origin is like where something originates from, or the origin maybe of someone's family. It just means where something starts. That's what origin is. So where something starts, that's what the actual word means. So in our math, it's where the axes intersect and it's at 0, 0. Because it all starts at 0, 0, so we call that the origin. Okay, so our next thing says x-coordinate. This is the first number in an ordered pair. The second number in the ordered pair is the y-coordinate. Now those go just in order with like your ABCs. So you would say X, Y, Z. X comes before Y, so X is our first number, Y is our second number. Okay, our next vocab word is what is an ordered pair? Since we said there's the first number in the ordered pair and the second number. Well, the ordered pair is 2 numbers used to show an exact location on a plane. Okay, so once you have those 2 numbers, they show you the exact location, and the exact location is a point. So the coordinate point is the point on the plane determined by the ordered pair. So this ordered pair tells us where to put the coordinate point, but the coordinate point is going to actually be the dot. Okay, our last word that we're going to be using in this unit is called plot. Plot is just your verb or your action of making a point on a plane. So when you put a point here, we call that you plot the point. It's the verb of doing it. Okay, that is a lot of vocab. So let's actually kind of look at what does this mean. I'm going to only be able to show you my picture, but you're going to have to go back and look at your words. Okay, so this entire thing, see how it's cut into 4 parts? This entire thing is called a coordinate plane. The big part is called the coordinate plane. But it's pretty clear how there's 4 clear parts. This is the quadrant, because quadrant, remember, means the 4 parts. This is the quadrant we're going to be using in 5th grade. In 6th grade, you'll use the whole plane. We're just going to use this part. So you'll notice on the next page of your notes, all your questions look like that, because we're only going to deal with this part. Okay, so this is our coordinate plane. This is the quadrant. Okay, a point is the exact location. So it's exactly where we would meet. What you need to remember about points is they always have to go clearly, and I might come up to my point part here. A point always has to go right where 2 lines intersect. So a point always goes right like that. You would never put a point like this. Sorry, my pen kind of ran out there. You would never put a point like that. That is not okay. So it would be right in the middle. Okay, so we have these axes. So even though there's all these lines, these are our main axes, these main lines. So the horizontal one, this one, is called my X. So it's this one's my horizontal. This one is called my Y. Now, when I was younger, my teacher taught me to remember the Y. The Y is the tall one. Just like your Y would be tall, that's your tall one. So she always had us draw our Y just like that. Okay, the origin is where it all starts, which is right here. And it's 0, 0. So if you notice, this first number is 1, then we count. So this, they don't put a 0 because we just assume that we know that has to be a 0 and a 0. Okay, so our coordinates in our ordered pairs, what they look like is, they will look like parentheses and a number and a comma and another number and parentheses. This is our ordered pair. So I actually might look at where my ordered pair is and draw a line to it. This is called the ordered pair. Now, this first number is called my X, and this second number is called my Y. So this is my ordered pair, but this is my X coordinate and this is my Y coordinate. Okay, so this tells us where a location is, but when I actually put the location on here, which we'll do later, that's called the coordinate point. And when I physically do it, it's called plotting the point. Okay, so I know most of our lesson so far has just been about vocabulary, but it's going to be really important that we get comfortable with all these words. Okay, so what does this really look like? Okay, so here is mine. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Oh, we're going to go right back. I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't do steps. We only have 3 steps. So our first step is we're always going to write X, Y on top of your ordered pairs. So just like here, when I made an ordered pair, I put an X on top of the first one and a Y on top of the second one. That's going to be a step that we're always going to do. Okay, our next step is we're going to actually find the X and the Y. And then you're going to plot your point where they meet. Okay, so what does that actually look like? And I apologize again, I skipped that. What does all this look like? Okay, so here's my first one. My first one is they give me this ordered pair. And today I'm actually not going to use only red. I'm going to be using different colors to show you, but please just watch with me. So I'll start with red, but then I might change colors. So I'm going to put X, Y. So my first one's my X, and my second one's my Y. That's my first step. Okay, my second step is actually find the X and the Y. So I'm looking for an X3 and a Y10. Okay, so I'm going to need to kind of zoom out a little bit and move up to find these. So I need to find an X3. So I'm going to look on my X line. Now see, they were nice and labeled it for me. Sometimes it won't be labeled. But since they already have them labeled, I'll just look. So on my X line, I want to find a 3. There's my 3. And on my Y line, I want to find a 10. So that's step 2. I found my X and I found my Y. Step 3 is plot where they meet. So where do these two numbers meet? I'm going to kind of use my pencil today just to kind of help. They meet right there. That is my coordinate point. So this was my ordered pair. This is the coordinate point that matches it. And when I just drew it, that was called plotting it. Okay, so let's try another one. I'm going to change colors just so you can kind of see the different colors. Okay, so first I'm going to put my X and my Y. Okay, so I'm going to look on the X line for 0. So on my X line, I'm going to find 0. It's right here. And then on my Y line, I'm going to find 4. Okay, this one's kind of tricky. Whenever you have zeros, they're a little tricky. Where would those meet? Well, that means I didn't move on my X, but I did move on my 4. So these ones actually meet right here. So whenever there's a 0, it tends to be the hardest problems on tests for people. I kind of remember if there is no X, I'm just going to be on the Y line. Okay, let's try another one. I'm going to try orange now. So step 1, I put my X and my Y. Step 2 is I actually find them. So I'm going to find on my X line, I'm going to find a 15. On my Y line, I'm going to find 4 again. And then my last step is where do they meet? So where do these two meet? They meet right here. That is my coordinate point, right where they meet. Okay, my next one is another tricky one because it has that 0 in it. Okay, so let's see how we can do with these zeros. I first put my X and my Y. Then I find them. So on my X line, I need to find 11. Okay, and on my Y line, I need to find 0. So where do they meet? Well, since I don't have any Y, they're going to just be on the X line. It's going to be right there. That is called plotting points. So I use these ordered pairs and I plotted points. Okay, the next type of question is going to be a little different. And I'm going to show you now how to read plotted points. How do you read plotted points on a graph? Because it's going to be a little bit different, okay? Okay, so for A, I don't know what the ordered pair is. Well, what I'm going to do then is this time they gave me the coordinate point, but now I need to plug in what's the ordered pair. So I'm going to do something very similar. I'm going to need to find my X and my Y. Okay, so I'm going to just still use colors to help you a little bit, but I'm going to, what is my X? Well, if I go all the way down, my X is 10. And what is my Y? 11. So my answer for that would be my x comes first was 10 and my y is 11. So here's my coordinate point, but here's the ordered pair that matches it. Okay, for B, I would do the same thing. I'm going to find what's my x. Well, my x is a 5, so I'm going to put a 5 there. And my y is a 7. So I'm going to put a 7 there. Okay, if you want to pause the video right now to grab some colored pencils or markers like I did, I think it's really helpful just while we're starting to learn this to start using with colored pencils and markers. We won't continue this for the whole unit, but it's a good way to start. So okay, I gave you some time and we are back. Ready? So now let's try some together. Okay, so my first one is 5, 11. That's my ordered pair. Okay, so step 1 is let's put our x and our y. Step 2 is let's find them. So on my x line, let's find a 5. And on my y line, let's find an 11. Okay, where do they meet? That is where we're going to put the the coordinate point. They meet right there. Okay, let's try our next one. And notice that I'm not writing in green, but this is what you should be doing with me, your guided practice. Okay, now I have x, y again. This is a tricky one when there's a 0, so I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful. My x is a 0. I don't have any x, but my y is a 6 on my y line. So when there's no x, it means it's not going to be on the x line. It's only going to be on the y line. So my coordinate point goes right there. Okay, our next one is 13, 4. So let's start by putting our x and our y. Then let's find our xy. So my x is 13 and my y is 4. And then let's find where they meet. This is where my coordinate point goes. So that's the ordered pair. This is the coordinate point. Okay, and my last one of these is those tricky zeros. Okay, but remember, because there's no y, there's only an x, that means it's only going to be on my x. So my x is 8. I don't have a y, it's 0. Which means it's only going to be on the x line, and it's right there. Okay, so I'm hoping you felt pretty good with those. Now we're going to try the other kind where we're going to be given the coordinate point, and now we need to find the ordered pair. Those ones are a little bit different, remember, but I'm still practicing understanding my x and my y's. Okay, ready? So now I have A. I don't know what my ordered pair is, but I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to find my x, which I see is 10. Okay, so our x is 10. And I'm going to go find my y, which is 13. So my y is 13. Okay, let's try one more together. Okay, what's my B? This is my coordinate point. What's the ordered pair that matches it? So let's go all the way to our x. Well, my x for B is 2. And my y for B is 8. Okay, I'm hoping you feel okay with that. Again, I really like using colored pencils or colored markers at the very beginning of learning this. I think it'll help you make more sense of it, and you'll understand it a little bit better. We will be practicing this tomorrow. Make sure you do tonight's homework. and then rate yourself. Have a nice evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.